In regular Web 2, you don't have the luxury of waiting or calling Mandiant or Signia to investigate within minutes. You are like being drained, taking control of your validators. You are willing to lose that 50 million, but you are not willing to lose that 950 million. Imagine what an IA can do when they learn to work with MCP. You don't even have the minutes, probably seconds, that the money will be gone. We are starting to see the rise of AI-generated exploits of smart contracts that people have missed. Then we will have to start thinking about closing our source code.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Web3 Security Podcast. Today we are very lucky to have Haim Krasniker with us. He is the CISO at StarkWare. If you don't know what StarkWare is, StarkWare develops StarkNet. The StarkWare team also invented Stark Proofs, which hopefully you've heard of. They've processed over 1 trillion in trading volume on StarkNet, and the team is mostly based in Israel, and so is Haim. And it's great to have you here today.
Thanks, Jack. Happy to be here and happy to join this amazing podcast with you. Let's jump into it.
Let's do it. So I always love starting out with, the very beginnings and kind of where you were as a child, when you got your first computer, when you got into programming. So what is that story like for you?
Gosh, we are recording, so I'll have to be censoring some of the comment, but yeah, I'm kidding. I started with computers when I was like, 9 years old. I got my first huge LCD giant box computer with all kinds of games like Space Invaders and Super Mario. That's what I remember. But I got into hacking games or stuff, cracking very, very early, and I fell in love in breaking stuff. I would say that, that was, I think, while my childhood and youth as a gamer and a hacker, playing very old games like Red Function, Call of Duty, Heroes of Might and Magic, and trying to hack them or win legitimately. Always looking for the right angles to do it correctly. And when I was more of, 16 or so, I get into more about computer hacking in terms of I think back then was IIS, SQL injection, cross-site scripting. It all started early 2000s. So I got to read about it and try it and play with stuff, but didn't steal any money or anything like that. But definitely love the idea of finding flaws in software and also learning how to avoid them and fix them. And when I got into, I think in Israel you have to join the army, and part of what we do is we look for talents in people to join all kinds of forces, and also technological forces like Israeli Air Force, A200, all of those units. And one of the very, very well known and one of the best routes in this is the academic reserve, where you can get actually an academic degree. As you were supposed to join the army in 18, you get to finish the degree, and then you join and you do your service in software or cybersecurity. Back then, there was nothing called cybersecurity, so it was quite new. I learned computer science and electrical engineering in Tel Aviv University from 2006 to 2009. I was lucky enough that the last 2 years of my degree were to work in a company called Sayota, which later sold to RSA. It was actually founded by the Israeli former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. So I was actually doing their anti-fraud command center, malware research, phishing, social engineering prevention against banks worldwide. That was my first real job, I would say, in cybersecurity. And I loved that. And when I finished my degree, they got to ask me what you want to do, and I said cybersecurity. And I, of course, have had to leave Sayota and join the Israeli Air Force. And I got very lucky to be one of the first penetration testers, and it combined my knowledge in electrical engineering and computer science, and bootstrapped the entire penetration testing team of the Israeli Air Force. So I'm very proud to be part of that team and build it. And yeah, I was there for about 7 years. And this is a little bit about where I began and where it took me.
Awesome. It's there's so many like CISOs or security people I talk to who start out with hacking games as a teenager. It's pretty crazy. I'm curious, on the Israeli Air Force side, it sounds like you were there pretty early in terms of their cybersecurity team. Why do you think, like, it seems like so many of the people who go into the Israeli military and are working on technology or even specifically cybersecurity, come out to do really impressive things? Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I think the first answer is that we don't have a choice. People speak about creativity, like thinking outside the box. I think the real creativity is when you think inside the box, when you have all of those, constraints, where you have to be put in a timely manner in a specific mission, where you have to deliver something, and you don't have a choice you cannot fail. And then you have to come up with creative ideas on how to solve it. I think it's part of the pressure that we live in this kind of still ongoing war and instability in this area. So our technological advantage against our enemies has to be very, very well and strong, and that's what we are trained for. Another thing which is very unique, I think, for the Israeli Air Force, and it's not a secret, it's we are very good in planning everything. It's not just planning operation. It's in the nature and the culture of the organization to do the planning and do the postmortem for everything. And then when you have that mindset where you have to build specifically and to the details, and then you have to also, even if a 100% successful mission, you still have to see what's going on, what went wrong, what didn't went as expected, and what was succeeded, so you can train on that and do it again and improve. And that kind of culture, I think I'm taking that to every organization that I'm going to. It's proactive cybersecurity mindset, and it's proactive mindset overall engineering wise, and think that's something that very, very unique to our cybersecurity nation.
And so where does your career go from there? You were in the Israeli Air Force for 7 years. You're a certain age at that point. Were you going into cybersecurity for companies, or what was kind of your plan?
When I finished my duty, I was looking for cybersecurity roles, and I was looking to do more hands-on research and offensive security research, ethical hacking. So there were a few things that I like to do. First is teaching people how to defend against hacks. Back then, I think the big bang of cybersecurity started with StarkNet in 2009. I finished in 2015, and what I like to do, except for finding flaws and fixing them, is teaching developers how to defend their code and letting them hack my own code and CTFs. We were one of the first teams to do capture the flag competition, both internally and even in the Israeli Cyber Week conference, the first one, which is today quite famous. So I think that was one of the things that I like to do, pro bono. Didn't think about as a role or a job or anything, but I like to teach people, and I continue to do that even today on volunteering. job areas, but um, like when it comes to what I wanted to do after hands-on wise, I was looking for something new, and then came up an offer from friends in Cellebrite, which is a company that is doing forensic investigation and getting forensic data from mobile phones on a court order basis. And this is really what I wanted, like found very, very interesting to do, because I didn't practice mobile security when I was in the Israeli Air Force. And Cellebrite presented a huge opportunity back in 2015, and I'm happy I took it. And yeah, it got me into doing a lot of API and social and application reverse engineering in order to bring data for suspects with court order to protect people and all kinds of wrongful activities. So yeah, definitely was an interesting job back then.
Interesting, interesting. So you essentially went into an area where you didn't have a lot of experience going into the mobile. I mean, even in 2015, that was when mobile was
Mhm.
just getting started or taking off. Okay. And then where do you go from there? And when is the point where you start thinking about blockchain or looking into blockchain?
Oh, so it's a fast forward. After Cellebrite, I've been in Proofpoint for several years. I was their first hire in Israel. There I was doing more of a security engineering role. I think that was the point where I left the offensive area and like penetration testing or security research and moved to first more leadership role. I mean, I was a team lead, but I was mostly hands-on. And in Proofpoint, I was like the first hire in Israel. And back then was the fire incident, and Proofpoint were concerned that a 0 day in their own email security gateway can propagate very quickly to all Fortune 500. And I was able to find an issue very, very quickly, which proved the essence of a team. I lived for 3 years on Sunnyvale, Tel Aviv line. And yeah, it was a very, very nice experience to work in a product company, in a cybersecurity product company in a US market. So that was amazing. I spoke with customers from time to time, and it was very, very interesting. After that, I was head of security in a non-blockchain company and non-cyber company. And afterwards, I was in the COVID managing security engineering, security research, and DevSecOps in Red Hat product security for 3 years during COVID. So I manage about 3 teams and 20 people from Australia to California to US. So that was working from home. I did a good degree in remote management of people. I managed 20 people for like 3 years in a very tough times. Although from 2019 there is no boring time in Israel, but with COVID it was a global crisis anyway. So it was nice. And when COVID ended, the StarkWare basically opened a head of security role very, very close to my home, and I can actually walk to my work. And our office is in up north Tel Aviv, in a very, very beautiful city called Netanya, which is where I live. I love this city, and I can actually walk to the office, and that was one of the coolest thing. And it was like 80 people here, and they had the StarkX product with DYDX when I joined in 2022. Trillions of dollars, very, very promising company. And it sounds like the head of security role would be very, very hands-on. And I didn't do blockchain security before that. So that's where I like very hyped in 2022. As the market, I was hyped too. And I'm not sorry for going here, because back then until now, there is nothing boring about Web2 or Web3 security when it comes to crypto. You get the the best hackers trying to hack you, and you have the best defenders and researchers, and you have 0 days and 1 days and smart contract exploits, and it's not boring. So that's what I like about this job. Although I still I didn't lose all my hair yet. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, man. That's So you basically got into blockchain because the company was was walking distance from your house.
Yes, you can say that, but also the blockchain world was pretty going up, and I learned a lot about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I did, as I've mentioned before in my previous background, I didn't do blockchain security, and that was completely different than mobile security, airplane security, or like regular Web2 stuff. So yeah, that I found it fascinating and challenging technological wise as well.
I watched a talk you gave, like a lightning talk from the DeFi Security Summit about kind of Web 2 and Web 3. You know, you have this really deep, rich background in Web 2 and all these different areas you just talked about. What were the most difficult parts of moving from Web 2 security to Web 3 security?
I think first it was the first incidents that I was involved in, for what I can tell. In regular Web 2, you don't have like the luxury. In Web 3, you don't have the luxury of waiting or calling Mandiant or Signia to investigate or bring their best effort, or even if you have an internal strong incident response team or a very, very hands-on CISO, you have time. In Web 3, you do not have that luxury. And that amazes me that within minutes, I think was the first Sky Mavis thrown in hack back then. And I saw that what happened when you are like being drained, taking control of your validators in that specific attack. Starting actually also started with social engineering and a fake interview, as far as I recall. And it amazes me what they can do and the knowledge of the attackers and the time, and like put in my Air Force mind again, like the operation, starting with who to target, how to target them, and then taking their credentials and moving into the smart contract and Web3 and validators, and how to utilize that into draining a lot of tokens in that sense. It amazed me, and I think that was the first shock that I had, and I found that's where I like said, okay, you have to step up your game, Haim. You know, you have to like do the proper risk assessment for StarkWare, start working on blockchain real-time monitoring, start to work on consumer and wallet security for the StarkNet ecosystem, and started to build that program as I have started. Like that was like my first few months. So yeah, I think that's it.
What do you see, you know, when you're looking around entering the blockchain space? There's wallet security, you know, there's the code security. What did you see as kind of the biggest gaps, or like, you know, if you're doing threat modeling, what did you see as like, wow, these are really big threats, these areas that we need to focus on?
I think the first and foremost is in 2022, there were a lot of smart contract exploits, and the ability for us to respond or pause versus the freedom and censorship and censorship protection for our users. Like, how do we protect them, but we do not censor like them? And this always like it's a double-edged sword. Like, if you can censor and you can pause the protocol wherever you want, then you are actually centralized and have a threat over the user's money if somebody in StarkWare is compromised or being malicious. So how do we do that? So we try to come up with all kinds of, I think, advanced technique for real-time monitoring. So the first thing that I did is starting to look at companies like Hypernative and Exagate and Cyvers that were just popping up as I have entered into this field, luckily. And we were looking for what are the most crucial assets that we have in StarkWare. How do we manage them? How do we practice key management well, multi-sig, all of this world, and what will we do in case of an attack? So I started to build playbooks. What happens if a user is reporting a specific incident? What happens if a protocol or a DeFi app says that they lost 5 million, 20 million, 100 million? It really depends on the scenario. And then what are we going to do as StarkWare with the current monitoring that we have on our contracts? And on the other hand, we have also the StarkNet, which is a protocol that essentially belongs to the StarkNet Foundation. So we are like the labs behind the StarkNet protocol, but we serve the StarkNet Foundation in that sense in the technology. So they have their own like consulting, but we also of course participate and advise on security practices. So we started thinking together about like a security council and what can you do that will not affect the user. For example, a withdrawal limit, which might affect the entire bridge, so to speak. But if that limit is like, if you have like a false positive alert, you only stop like 5% of the withdrawals, then it might not do damage, right? But if you do 1%, it might do damage. So like we looked at the statistic and saw like what is the right number, and of course consulted with all of the parties to give this like measurement. So we always take the user experience and the security in the same level, and trying like to compensate on each other to make sure that we are ready in case of an attack. I started an on-call duty war games with the relevant parties. Like this happened. Now what are we doing? Like practice the playbook, not just write the playbook. Actually see that it works. And I built that together with the partners that we work with StarkNet Foundation and Hypernative, and in that case that they are doing the real-time monitoring for StarkNet and StarkWare. So yeah, these are the areas that I think first thing that I have done.
The trade-off between censorship resistance and security is a really tricky one. And so what you were saying there with the 1% and 5%, you were saying if you block 5% of transactions, that has like a worse user experience than if you block 1%. But if you block 1%, you might miss like an exploit or some kind of hack.
No, not necessarily. I mean, like when you trigger this specific measurement, we have a lot of measures, but this specific countermeasure, if you stop 5% of the withdrawal on Stargate, and you have like say 1 billion, and then it's like 50 million. Like you look on the average, and you see that if there was a false positive, because there can be false positive, you will not do damage to anyone. And if there is a false positive where you have done the damage, then that's not good, and you want to avoid that to the extreme. And on the other hand, you do want to be safe in case it's a true positive, right? And you are willing to lose that 50 million, but you are not willing to lose that 950 million. So this is the kind of game of measurement that a CISO or a protocol have to take into account when they want to do like real-time monitoring and real-time proactive measures. Because if you do just real-time monitoring to check the box, if we speak about audits as well later on, you don't want to check the box. You actually want to do something when a hack happens. Otherwise, what does it help that you say that you have Hypernative or Hexacate or blockade or whatever? It doesn't really help if you don't do anything on or act on the alert, right?
Yeah, no, that's super true. And I think, from what I've seen, a lot of companies do use those providers. Fewer companies have really fast action plans for what to do when there is an alert that comes through. So how do you think about that? I guess I'm curious, why you choose to use some of these providers instead of building monitoring yourself so you can maybe trigger it even faster or something. But how do you think about that whole flow in terms of monitoring and then in terms of actually taking action there?
Okay, so this is a good question. So in StarkWare, we have, I'm very proud to have, I like to build teams. Didn't say that about my background, but I like to be the first person, and then I bring the good folks. So we have today 3 teams. We have the IT team that reports to the CISO, which is very, very helpful in Web3 security, because you want to maintain that IT order. IT is as a point of like security gap in many blockchain companies. So I like that they report to the CISO. And Web2 security, like security engineering team, we have a very, very strong security engineering team, people that were one of the first Wiz customers Twistlock, or like we like to work with all of the amazing startups as they begin. And on the Web3 side, we also have an internal security team, and I think we are the only one, or maybe we were very for a long time the only one that our blockchain security team is participating in SIN 911 pro bono, like volunteer work, helping protocol, sometimes competition. We don't care. We just want to help and make sure that the crypto world is very secure, because it's bad for everyone that a protocol gets hacked. That's what I believe. And we try to build StarkNet as a competitive advantage for our users. Like we have partnership with Blockade to bring wallets, that native security sandbox transaction simulation that they bring. So like every builder that comes to a protocol, they don't have the money, or they just want to rush to production, rush to deliver, especially in blockchain. And if institutional and VCs will care about that money, maybe it will help. But if the protocol, like StarkNet Foundation and other foundations, like they pay for hypernative, Exagate, Chainalysis, Blockade, all the companies that are doing that and supply some kind of freemium model even for the new builders, they gain security for zero money, but it's best for the ecosystem and the crypto ecosystem, because once they start to build a protocol insecurely, it's too late. They will get hacked sometime. And this is what I really believe in proactive security measurement from the start. And yeah, I know I slide a little bit of your question. In StarkWare, I think we are one of the most powerful users when it comes to real-time monitoring SDKs. I mean, we don't want to start building the block explorers and RPC and collect them into a data such as Hypernative is doing or Exagate. I think they have the expertise. But we are writing 300 rules, I think even more than that the internal StarkWare blockchain security team is writing. I think it's very advanced usage of the protocol, and they know StarkNet the best. So that's why we use that internal model. I found it very odd sometimes that there are not a lot of CISOs, even in larger protocol than StarkNet, and not alone an internal security, blockchain security team. And our team in StarkWare is, I think, one of the best in the field, and they are power users, so they are writing their own rules to protect StarkNet and the ecosystem. So
Yeah, that's really cool. And I don't want you to say too much here, but in terms of how you take action quickly on those alerts, do you have any insight you can share?
I'm not going to say what we are doing. I would say do the playbooks, do the plan, do the asset management and risk assessment, and make sure that everything is covered, and then practice it. But enforcement mechanism like time locks, delayed multi-sigs that you can do to prevent all kinds of hijacks. I spoke about withdrawal limits, pausing, freezing. Depending on the measurement, it really depends on the exact asset of what you are doing to do and the user experience. It can be a critical liquidity pool that you might protect more. And if it's not too critical, then you might do a more severe security measurement if it's a lot of money. So it really depends. You have to sit and walk through with the product team and the engineering team to find out the best use case. And I'm happy also that sometimes protocol don't have that internal security team. The security providers and vendors and SIL 911 and Zero Shadow, all the security ecosystem in blockchain, they are there for advice, and we have the DeFi Security Summit conferences. So people share those insights, but you do have to take some of them internally. You don't want people to know exactly what's going on. I really believe in combination of open source security and homebrew solution on the same page. Do some stuff that gives the users the trust and credibility on the protocol, that it's not censoring and that it's doing the best to protect the users. And on the other end, if an attacker leverages that, do some homebrew scripts and procedures that will make it harder once the attackers are in, if they are in, to do the lateral movement. Once you raise that bar long enough, they will give up eventually, because there is always a cheaper target cost-wise for the attacker, and that's unfortunate. But this is the game that we want to move them. And if they waste time in moving between targets, essentially they hack less people and less protocols.
Right, right. Okay, that's really interesting. So it's kind of a, multi layers of defense kind of thing where even if they get in, you have some guards there. That one's really interesting in the crypto space because there are some, like especially smart contract exploits where there's just not that much. There aren't that many layers. Once they find a bug, it's a pretty quick path to causing damage.
Unless that smart contract has some kind of circuit breaker or anything like that is monitored in real time and have a real time enforcement, and the enforcement mechanism is good at detecting that, and then you can prevent the damage. Unfortunately, that's not always the use case, or mostly not the use case yet. But I think that's really interesting point, and maybe it's a multi-layer approach where it starts, with internal secure development practices for smart contract and Web2, and then it continues with internal audit and static analyzers and tools that we use internally and some tools that we can speak about like external that are open source like Slither and I don't want to say names specifically that we use, but and specific Cairo specific tools, but they are very, very strong tools for static analysis and dynamic security testing. And then you go to the external auditing company, which depends on the importance of the asset. You have to choose carefully. And then you do a bug bounty program, and you do and then if you go follow that, sometimes you even do a bug bounty competition, an audit competition. So if you follow all of those steps, that's the real multi-layered approach, and it costs a lot of money. So we as security leaders need to make sure that the foundations that give the builders the developer partnership that they need also include security from day one, so that they can do this internal security testing, external audit, and bug bounty programs and audits. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So across all these different, surface areas of attack and all these different layers of defense, where would you say that you spend most of your time?
Me as a CISO, yeah, it evolved in the past 4 years. So I was doing very, very hands-on work, sitting with the engineer, doing threat modeling and secure design reviews, and then internal audits, later on monitoring and enforcement. These days, I have my own team leaders that are leading both the Web2 part and the Web3 part. I'm more of a strategic advisor to that extent, but I do play important part in, I would say, key projects of StarkWare like BTC-Fi and privacy that we started talking about, which is very exciting topic as well in StarkNet and Stark 20, as you might have heard from previous weeks that we shared. So yeah, these kind of areas are more like strategic wise. So I participate in those discussions. I follow and crypto Twitter and AI Twitter, I would say. When it comes to cybersecurity, I like to work with, I see the threat model changing with AI. Like I want to know what developers are using and what models are they using, and how do we protect them from the uprising AI threats. And we can speak about that as well if you want. I have a very interesting way of doing things, and the way I see it in the future of AI security. So yeah,
Well, let's talk about
it's
that. What are some of the interesting things you're seeing on the AI side?
yeah, and I hope that other CISOs hear that as well, not just in Web3, also in Web2. We are very tired as CISOs because the models keep changing every day or every hour, uh, and and the tools and the developers experience now working with Cursor or Claude Code or Codex or Gemini and all the third parties that are working with them, and everything is the IDE of that developer. Everything, the machine of the developer becomes a very, very hard place to protect, especially when you are a crypto company and you get 1 days and 0 days that CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1 or any other advanced EDR won't be able to protect. So my philosophy here is that moving that barrier to dev sandboxes, like taking the dev, do whatever you want on the cloud in a secure environment. Every tool that comes up, every new thread that comes up, it's limited and isolated in the cloud. So the developer a machine doesn't get infected with anything that is new. And that's like architecture-wise, the way I see the future of AI developers, at least I think that's the most secure way to look at it. And yeah, it's something that I learned when I was in Red Hat product security, like code ready is this exactly this kind of environment. But dev sandboxes for AI development is like the next big thing, I think, for like give the developer exactly the freedom that they want to do, and then at the same time protect and isolate your organization. So that's my philosophy there.
Interesting. And if you can say a little bit more about that, how do you silo? Where do you break it down in terms of like how you silo the sandboxes?
Well, basically, I won't get into the technical details, but you can control the ingress and the egress of what goes into that sandbox, like what models are you going to put, and especially what can't go out of that sandbox into your developer machine. So that imagine that you have an isolation that is built internally by our security team, but there are companies that are also developing these kind of sandboxes like Cloudflare and maybe other startups that you haven't heard about, but they are doing that as well. So that's the future. It should be a very, very pleasant UX for the security team to know what goes in and what goes out from that dev sandbox, and make sure that it's up to date with the latest models, especially for the developers and IDEs. And if Cursor is the new big thing, you have that. And if it's a cloud code, you have that. Before that kind of approach, we have to whitelist every model, check every privacy policy, every AI policy that runs into our own IDEs and our own machine, which is first a nightmare, and second, it can't be governed. Although there are some governance solutions for AI, I don't think that there is a good solution that will not hurt the developer experience. And my philosophy is in security enablement. Give the developer what they want to do, but make it secure. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see one of these kind of malicious packages causing Web3 hacks? Do you think the developers of these malicious packages are targeting Web3 specifically?
Yeah, I think that 2025 and the beginning of 2026 is already upon us with the Shah-Khulud 2.0, which targeted not just the crypto space, but essentially it looked for cryptocurrency wallets and crypto stealers. And we have the recent attacks with the Team PCP on GitHub X and CI/CD, attacking supply chain security companies like Aqua, Checkmarks, and even today they released another victim. I think CI/CDs and AI, ungovernance AI, installing packages and compromise the maintainers and collaborators in the open source space is very, very hot topic for attackers these days. And I think it will just get worse before it will get better, to be honest. So I think we are looking at a very, very good angle for DPRK actors and others to utilize the chaos that are going on right now with AI. You will not believe how many developers are using, YOLO mode or disallow specific controls because they don't really know what it's doing, right? And it's like sometimes you can get to a developer, you find an alert, and they say it's not me, it's Cloud Code. Who is responsible then, right? Is it Cloud Code? Is the developers? Of course, it's the developer. But you need to teach them as a CISO, you need to tell them this is not the secure way to configure your IDE with YOLO mode, right? Dev Sandbox actually solved that gap because you do not need to trust the person. If they make a mistake, they are isolated to that Dev Sandbox. You just need to make sure that it doesn't have access to production secret keys and anything like that, and you are safe. You are assuming the DevSoc in your threat model. You are assuming that the dev box will be compromised, and then what can an attacker do from there? Not much.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I guess while we're on the topic of AI, what do you think about in terms of AI auditing, instead of human auditors?
Yeah, I've been in if very recently in the seal gathering dark mode. There were, I think, most of the docs talk about AI auditing, agentic AI security. It was fascinating to see the different ideas and like from my colleagues and very, very smart people, and everyone looks at it a different angle. The way I see it, we can divide it for like AI auditing for like Web 2 and AI for Web 3. When it comes to AI in Web 2, pen testing, red teaming, all kinds of issues that AI auditor can find, I think it's a low hanging fruit. Basically, AI assisted. Uh, it won't solve the problem. It's a commodity market. There are so many companies now that are doing AI pen testing. I think that's a commodity market the way I see it, because it will just like I can do now a pen test in much less dollars, and I can even run it continuously. So it will probably, the way I see it, will kill the Dust and the SaaS companies, but services companies will live to the commodity of the pen testing. And the best one will be probably the models that do the boutique pen testing, AI assisted with some Haim or Jack Sanford that have this like extra gap with the AI to work together with it. Then I think those like are the ones that I really want to work with as a CISO. And when it comes to Web3, I think that's interesting because a smart contract functionality is very well defined. Like you know what to do. You have more formal verifications as well. Like you can define very very specific tests that you can do, and then you can teach the LLM to do that, whether you do it internally or externally. So like from the gut that I think about it, it should be very very like it should protect me very well when it comes to a good AI auditor. But it doesn't necessarily, because if I was right with the gut feeling, somebody would already hack a big protocol using AI exploit or AI issue that some auditor have missed before. And these have happened, but not to a big extent as far as I know. Like there is no like a Bybit or a Ronin hack or anything like smart, like a reentrancy. Yes, reentrancies we have seen, but something more complex with AI, I still haven't seen. Uh, so I think it's still in the diapers from what an AI auditor can do for smart contracts. But I do see from time to time some posts that in bug bounties it finds some stuff. But when you look at bug bounties, you see, and from a CISO perspective, it's a very painful. Like you get like sometimes thousands of findings with AI slope, and my people or Sherlock people or other companies, they lose a lot of time verifying all those like low stuff that are not really an issue or hallucinations of the LLM. But I believe that in the future, as LLM outgrows and gets better in smart contract exploits, for sure it will find stuff, and for sure the AI auditor will be there to help us. And this brings me to another very controversial topic. When that AI auditor comes up, and we are starting to see the rise of AI generated exploits on smart contract that people have missed, then we will have to start thinking about closing our source code. And this is very, very also, I would say, a controversial topic. Right? You want to be open, but if it's open and it's just a race between the best AI auditor that it's still not out there, but it will be there in a few months or years, then closing the source code might be actually the better option, right? What do you think about that, Jack?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So you think that essentially if you close source the code, the only way to hack it at that point is to kind of reverse engineer or kind of guess correctly.
Exactly.
And if you open source it, you get all these different AI approaches, especially the white hat approaches, but you think that there's still potential for a better. So one way of thinking about it, if there's $100 million on chain at risk, the black hat will earn 100 million if they hack it. The white hat will earn what? 10 million,
10
1
million.
million, 50K,
Yes,
depending on the bug bounty
exactly.
program.
Yes, but it's a race condition. It's a race condition where everybody has the models, and who has the better model will win. And this today it's about the people with the gift that they can hack smart contract, and we hope that they are white hats. But when it comes to AI doing that and AI agents looking around and they have that auditing skill that we still haven't fully developed, as I said, then we will be in a problem. And in order to solve like the closed source trusted problem, we will have to still hire companies like Sherlock or Zelic or Trail of Bits to give the stamp. We have seen the code. It's indeed there. It's indeed doing what you want. And this is the executive summary of the report. But we don't want to open source the code in a world where AI can take advantage of that open source and do some real damage on chain. And imagine what an AI can do when they learn to work with MCP, with Tornado Cache, or anything like that. Very, very fast. Even you don't even have the minutes, probably seconds that the money will be gone. And then we will have to think about other solutions. So I'm not saying that I'm going to close source some of the code, but I think it's a very interesting observation that I came up as we speak.
And just to get specific on the race condition, so you're not saying black hats are going to train better models. You're not saying black hats are going to be able to afford more inference. You're saying that the black hats are going to find the bugs first.
I'm saying that yes, they are going like the cost of finding those, like the cost of hiring, if that expertise to find those hacks where I would say some gifted people in the world that are looking at the code and deeply, not just auditor. I mean, like black hats, the cost is going down, and as the cost is going down, it becomes it brings more bad actors to the game as well as good actors to the game, and then it's a race between them. And then we have to think very, very seriously about how do we protect the code from a spontaneous attacker that is constantly looking on issues as we do another PR, another deployment, another change in the smart contract, versus what happened until now, where you used to do a new version, you go into an audit, then you open source the code. We will not be able to keep up, and the changes of the code will also be more faster because people are writing code faster. AI is writing code faster. The auditors have to keep up as well. Everything is going to be much faster. So we have to come up with the solution. And I think that once you have if the model of the AI auditor becomes some kind of commodity, you want to run it internally first before deploying it for the outside for sure. And once it's out there, if there is a new bug that this commodity AI auditor finds, you might be too late. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, interesting. But isn't it the case that even today, if a black hat finds a bug that wasn't found in the audits, it's generally too late, or do you think something changes in this AI future?
I mean, first we have a multi-layered approach, as we spoke before, even to protect even from the worst, but the attack surface is bigger. You have 10, 20, 10, 200 times more black hats that can do that with the AI capabilities. So the amount of threat actors is getting bigger and the cost is getting smaller. That's why it's a statistics game in the end of the day. And today I don't think that they waste all their power in all the protocols at the same time. Watch what they can do with AI in the future, and already doing probably. And yes, you are correct though that if we have that multi-layered approach, it might protect us even when there is AI out there and the code is open source. So that's a question that we should all be thinking. But you don't want to make their life easier, even if they hack in the withdrawal limit case. You don't want to give them that 5% gift if you can. If you are in a world where finding bugs in smart contract or 0 days is a commodity, you want to be the first one to run it internally, I would say, and continuously, because new bugs can pop up every time. Supply chain attacks can happen all the time, and yeah, we have to think very, very seriously about open source versus closed source in the AI threat model space.
And so, what do you think? So this, there's a lot of things that would change. You mentioned bug bounty programs. You're getting dozens of submissions. What do you think bug bounty programs look like in this future? Because you could see getting hundreds of submissions instead of dozens, or you think something will change there?
Yes, so for that we have an idea that we actually started practicing, where when you find a bug, you have to pay some kind of price. If you want to find a low or medium or high bug, you get as a reporter, if you are reaching like a specific, you give a stake that you risk when you report that bug. And if it happens to fall on an AI verification tool that says Jack Stanford just released an AI report with hallucinations about our bug bounty program and is just flooding us, then you pay the price of that stake, maybe a few dollars, but it's a lot of money for some people that they do it in a continuous way. So like they have to pay some incentives. That's how we can protect bug bounty programs, I think, in the future. What do you think about that?
I love it. I could not agree more. I don't know if you know this, but Sherlock, the first day we launched our bug bounty platform, we had all staked submissions because we agree with you that this is the future.
Yeah, so we are on the same page. Here, it has to go this way, I think. The AI slope is just making my security team and the bug bounty platforms very, very busy. Instead of looking at the critical issues, we look on a lot of noise, and noise is not good for security teams and not for bug bounty platforms.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and we'll see how that plays out. I know I can probably only fit in a few more questions. I want to make sure I ask you. You've given a pretty controversial statement around closed sourcing code. Is there any other controversial opinions you have on the Web3 security space?
Yes, several. One thing is definitely the checking the box, like going for just what I need to do. Like we don't have a lot of SOC 2 or ISO 2701 in our space, which I actually like, because as a CISO, it gets me to be very practical on my threat modeling. But on the other hand, we see a lot of protocols like doing an audit with some specific, as a specific stamp. They don't really care about. Like they do just what they need. They do the monitoring, but they don't do the enforcement. They do the audit, but they don't really fix the issues. Uh, I don't want people to check the box in Web3 just to make sure that they are compliant, because that that doesn't really work out in Web3. You can just say I am compliant. You have to be proactive. You have to make sure that you have the proper security controls and enforcement. So the first thing I would say, in some protocols, not all of them that I have seen, that checking the box is not enough. It's not enough in Web 2. It's definitely not enough in Web 3. And the other thing is that I wanted to discuss is actually related to what we do in StarkWare. Like we are developing now privacy over StarkNet natively on the protocol with the Stark 20, which is a native version of private ERC20 asset, which really gives native privacy without fragmentation. And we really believe that ZK Stark proofs, for example, like that might see like another, like we don't want to, on the one end, I think that's the really big thing for bringing institutional players into the crypto space. Like you don't want to have the ledger open to everybody, because that gives attackers the ability to social engineer you. You know exactly which addresses you are targeting, what do you do. Everything is open, but this is a good amount of OSINT to attack Jack. I know exactly what addresses I need to mimic. Who are you speaking with? There is a lot of OSINT related to those addresses. And if the ledger was private and only open to specific parties, then it might bring real institutional players into the game. So, and there is real controversy in crypto. Like if you do Tornado Cash, which is a privacy solution, that you are a bad actor. And how do we compromise on that? How do we do a private solution that is not for bad actors, but actually for institutional players? And this is the thing that we do. We try to do with StarkNet and Stark20. And I think it's a big deal, because the viewing key, the viewing angle can be done for counterparties that are legitimately needing that. And then you can protect from all those malicious actors. Or on the other hand, you don't make it easy for attackers now to come up and look at the ledger and see exactly what transactions have been made. And ZK Stark proves us very, very right position to do that. So yeah, we are trying to be very, very proactive around the privacy area, as we did with BTC-Fi. And yes, StarkNet here is not just as an L2 that's trying to make Ethereum cheaper. It's actually bringing better cryptography, better privacy solution. That's what StarkNet is all about, and that's our differentiator, I think. And I like to be as a CISO that I can also influence that product from my angle, both as an offensive security previously and today as a CISO that try to protect the ecosystem and StarkNet and StarkWare.
Yeah. That's so. In terms of the privacy side of things, why do you think it's taken so long to? Do you think privacy is antithetical to blockchain or to the crypto ideals? And why do you think it's taken so long to get good privacy solutions?
As you said, it's like against the degen culture, and as I said, even open source versus closed source. It's controversial, and we have a lot of opinions in Web3, and very well respected, and everybody wants to have the word open. But I think it took some time to learn that if you want to bring real institutional and even institutional, bringing this kind of money and change takes time. These are organizations and money that moves really, really slow. And I don't think that, to be honest, blockchain or crypto have found the right product market fit, generally speaking. So yeah, I think that as a community, as an ecosystem, it took us time to develop, and we learned what can be done. And because it's like, I see it as the wild west, like it's the 1970s or 1980s with the internet, where you don't have much control. Everybody's doing whatever they want, and it's nice and it's fun, but on the other hand, it's also insecure. And as we evolve, we come to learn what are the right controls that we need to do, and what are the type of products and blockchains and protocols that fit the right players, whether they're institutional or non-institutional, or DeFi protocols and consumers. So I think it took some time because of that. It's evolving, and it's evolving very, very, very quickly. And I hope that now, with all the regulation changes, institutional players will come, and the crypto bear market, I hope, will soon be over, and we'll start to see the next cycle with institutional going into the game, whether they are on StarkNet or other protocols. I think the change is coming. I think we have seen that change in Ethereum and other foundations. So I think something is changing, and we'll see the result in a few months, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I want to give you the last word here. Anything that you want the audience to know about in terms of what you're excited about in the coming months, or what you're thinking about?
Privacy in StarkNet definitely excites me, and how we're going to pull up with the market as we recover, as the market recovers eventually. So that definitely excites me, and how we are going to secure that specific roadmap in StarkNet and StarkWare. AI is very, very exciting. All the attacks and the defense and how to protect against them. Like you need to think outside or inside the box, and how to come up. And I think as we spoke, AI is changing the world and disrupting the way that we do things. And I really want like protocols and blockchain and leaders and institutional to make sure that they care about the builders and they bring them the monitoring and the wallet protection and secure development tools built in from day one so that they can build securely the DeFi apps, and on top of that, get those audits and bug bounty programs all settled. And once you have all of this package, as day one when you start as a developer, I think that will definitely make our life easier, because every hack in blockchain takes us a step backward. We spoke about the slowness in the previous question. That's one of the reasons, many hacks. And as we go down with the smart contract exploit, we have seen the Web2 attacks coming up on identities and developers. And I think that we are also getting better there. But as we are getting better there, AI is coming back up, taking us to the next hacking cycles, whether AI will attack smart contract exploits or attack developers, soon to be seen. And we need to protect against that attack vector as well. So these are exciting times to be living here in the world, in crypto and in general in engineering and security. And I think that we will shape the future of cybersecurity and blockchain security as we evolve. And I'm happy to be a part of that, and I hope that we will succeed.
Awesome. Well, that's a great closing message. I feel like there's so much knowledge that you have that we didn't get to, but really appreciate you taking the time today, Haim. And yeah, thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack, and thanks for taking the time for speaking with me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.